Hello, this is Sam Gerrans from samgerrans.com. Today is Thursday, November 2nd, 2023, and today the subject is the Christian right, and are they propagandized about Israel? Well, I know where I stand on this, but I just thought I would mention this because in this on this channel at this time, what I tend to do is look at propaganda. Some of it in more depth, some of it a little bit more superficially. On a Thursday, usually look at a piece of so-called news and break down why it's propaganda. But I thought, given what's going on with the Palestinians right now, I was thinking about the propaganda which the Christian right, when I say the Christian right, I'm really talking about Christians in America, although it's not exclusively in America, why they stand with Israel. Now, I have in my early youth a Christian background, so I do know something about it. And basically, the way it works is this: if you wonder why it is that Christians in America stand with this regime so unquestioningly, in fact, their entire government is basically controlled by it, and they're quite happy with this, and you don't know why. I'll tell you. What you need to do is look at Genesis, the first book of the Bible, chapter 12, and read from there. And it says here, and I'll just read you, it's just a couple of verses, because this is the basis upon which modern conservative American evangelicals particularly basically stand with Israel right to the point of nuclear war. There is more to it than this, but this is the kind of the core of it. And we'll just see. I'm not going to argue with it doctrinally, because that's a subject that's beyond the remit of this. But what I can do is give you some facts and invite you to consider whether they have the right understanding of this particular verse. So here we go. This is the King James Version. Now the Lord had said unto Abraham, Get thee out of thy country, and from thy kindred, and from thy father's house, unto a land that I will show thee. And I will make of thee a great nation, and I will bless thee, and make thy name great, and thou shalt be a blessing. Now here's the important bit. And I will bless them that bless thee, and curse him that curseth thee. And in thee shall all families of the earth be blessed. Now, this is the verse, or the selection of verses, which the Christian right, bless them, think means that they have to stand with and bless, pay for, send huge amounts of money to, and provide intellectual cover for the state of Israel. Now, I'm not going to argue the theology of this exactly. What I am going to do is just point out a few things. Now, the first one would be this. The Christian right in America is essentially Protestant. Okay? So, being Protestant, their theology is divorced from the Catholic Church, and it is largely dependent upon Luther. Okay? It's a Protestant. The Protestants have kind of dissolved into, I think there are 30,000 sects in America alone. So they're in their worldview, doesn't matter what flavor they are, they're essentially Protestants, whether they're Baptists or whatever they are, that's what they are. Now, the founder of their breakaway sect from the Catholic Church, Luther, he definitely didn't believe this. And I can prove it, because he was, by modern standards, he would have been termed an anti-Semite, and he wrote whole books on it. One of his most famous is The Jews and Their Lies. So you may be certain that the founder of their religious movement would have not stood with them in their interpretation of these verses. Where these, which version of the Bible and who paid for it for this particular idea to come across, I think we can speculate, and it would be an interesting study, but I'm not going to get into it right now. But we can establish that whatever it is the Christian right thinks, this is not what the founder of their sect believed. just a fact. So that's the first thing. Second thing, let's see if it actually works. Now, the British were the first really to, when we're talking about Israel, we're talking about this modern state, this Zionist state as envisaged by Herzl. Whether or not this has any connection with this particular promise given to Abraham. So it was Lord Balfour after the First World War who first blessed Israel in the sense that modern evangelical Christians are using this term by writing the Balfour Declaration, which led after the Second World War to the creation of the Israeli state, of the Israeli Zionist state. Now let's see, has Britain been blessed? Because this is the promise, this is the deal, right? I will bless them that bless thee. Okay, so Britain blessed this political Zionist movement in 100 years ago. Now, is Britain a more blessed place now than it was 100 years ago? Well, let's think about that. 100 years ago, it had an empire, ruled the world, large parts of it, had a very high standing in the world, etc. Now look at it. I would argue that it's a sort of second or maybe even third tier country off the edge of Europe, which has delusions of grandeur. There are dignitaries from even not particularly well known or respected countries who no longer want to meet with Britain because they're just irrelevant. So how about that? How about all the crime and everything else which happens in the UK now? I would argue that compared to 100 years ago, Britain is the mighty fallen. But let's take the case of America. This is where most of these evangelicals live. Now, at the time when the State of Israel, 1948, was declared, and America was most active in helping it get set up, America was the number one country in the world, as in fact Britain was, certainly prior to the First World War. So America was the number one country in the world. It had the largest manufacturing base. It was respected after the Second World War. Americana was embraced by almost every country in the world. America tended to colonize countries, not so much militarily, but culturally, through its films, its culture, and its music and everything. America, everybody wanted to be American. America was the number one country in the world, bar none. That was where it was in 1948. Let's look at it now. It's been blessing Israel, or the country called Israel, all the time since then. Now America is basically on the point, I wouldn't say it's completely on the point of collapse, but it has no manufacturing base. It's almost, not universally, but almost universally hated, but despised. American people are now assumed to be ignorant on every single subject and also stupid. I'm not saying it's true, but I'm saying that's the perception. You have fentanyl, you have the breakdown of the country. I travelled across America. I actually liked America. The country of America was wonderful, but you could see the homelessness, and it's just the country you could see was already falling apart at the seams when I was travelling across it. And this is 5 or 6 years ago. It's had a major collapse since then. What I'm trying to say is I'm not going to argue what this verse means. I'm just trying to point out that whatever it does mean, either it doesn't apply and the Christians have got it wrong, or it's all the people that it does apply to are not the people that the Christian right thinks. I'm not a Christian in that sense. It's obviously for people to make up their own minds, but I would argue that this question needs some serious thinking about, because if what's happened to the UK since the First World War, or prior to the First World War, and what's happened to America since the end of the Second World War is kind of indicative of what happens when you quote unquote bless Israel, then God help you. Who would want to see what would happen to you if you cursed them? I think this is propaganda. I think that there's been a move within the, well, clearly there has been, because Luther didn't think any of these things. I think there's been an orchestrated process of propaganda, probably through Bible translations and the writings, Christian writings and so on, to convince well-meaning, gullible Americans into a position which they've been told is something which is going to draw them closer to God, but actually is taking their country quite clearly, and the rest of us, to hell. Anyway, it's just another example of how the subtle serpent of propaganda controls most men's minds. I just thought I would point this out. It's not the propaganda is in everything. It's in the media. It's in the movies. It's in everything. And all you can do is try to use your own mind as much as you can. But it requires a certain amount of courage, and it's what they want to do is join groups and feel cozy, comfortable, righteous and safe. And I suppose nothing does that for you quite like being a member of an evangelical church in America. Anyway, that's it for now. Details of where I upload to, how you can join my Substack and Telegram channel, support my work and download my books free are in the description. Thanks for listening, and bye for now.